So, Eric, welcome to Hablo Talks. Thanks for joining us today, and welcome to London.
Thank you for having me, Russell. It's a pleasure to be in London after such a long time. So
Yeah, it must be great to be back traveling.
yeah, it has been. It has been really nice to be back
Yeah.
after almost 3 years, I guess.
Wow, I
Yeah.
know. But it's flown though.
Yeah.
So let's learn a bit about you.
Yeah.
We like to do. Tell us a bit about your industry journey, about how you got to be here today.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to be in this industry. So 22 years ago, I started working in hotels on the west coast of Florida, in Naples. I'm originally from Mexico City. I was born and raised there, and I moved there in my early 20s. I'm dating myself now, but anyway, I started working in hotels there, reservations, in selling three major hotels in that area, and then slowly moved into the leisure sales, travel trade side of things, and learning about the international market specifically. And so I had my break thanks to a mentor of mine who's still involved in my life, and she gave me the opportunity to work with her. And that's how I really got started. So I had the opportunity to work in reservations and front desk, different departments within a hotel, luxury hotels, and then move my way up to leisure sales specifically. So that's how it started. And then worked for a consulting management firm that had hotels and resorts in the U.S. and the Caribbean.
Yep.
And then moved my way into the DMO world, which I never knew what a DMO world. Everybody's like a convention visitors bureau. What's a convention visitors bureau? So thanks to that mentor who had been in the industry, she said, well, I have an opportunity at a DMO, still on the West Coast, so Fort Myers, Sanibel. And then I started working there with her 15 years ago on the international development. And so that's how my journey began in terms of the development of markets. At that point, it was more Benelux, Scandinavia. And then I moved over to the East Coast of Florida to another DMO, Visit Lauderdale, and then now for the last 5 years with the Palm Beaches. So.
Okay. Yeah. And why do you think, or what do you think makes the industry such a great place to work?
The camaraderie, the connections, the development of the different markets have allowed me the opportunity to meet people such as yourself over the years, that you establish that relationship, that it goes beyond the business side of things. So I think it's such a large industry, but yet it's such a small industry, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest things. And then within the state of Florida, even though people perceive us as competitors, I never see it as competitors. We're all working for the same common ground, and we all support each other. We all complement each other. We're all different types of experiences. And I think that that's also something that I still find true, right? The people are very close. It's a tight-knit community. So it's different than other industries. I mean, I worked in marketing research in Mexico City, and, it's very analytical, very specific. But here it's, you're selling tourism, you're selling an experience. So I think everybody ultimately is very happy about it. So I think it's that connection. So.
Yeah, great. And you mentioned a mentor earlier. Have you had more than one mentor?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she was the one who really gave me my first break and taught me the ropes, taught me the international development. But throughout this journey of 22 years, I've had several mentors that I'm still, in touch with, and that I've learned so much from. Absolutely. Absolutely. In DMO world and hotel world and, hospitality world, I guess.
Yeah. And is there one piece of advice from one of these mentors that you tend to pass on to your teams now? Is there something?
It's always that sense of being appreciative, humble.
Yeah.
Making sure that you're nurturing those relationships. We're very fortunate to do what we do, don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
But always being humble and professional, and just there to help anything that any clients or any clients or partners that you have. So
yeah, relationships
is key. I think that's the main thing, that if I were to tell anybody, that it stands the test of time. It's like the relationships it's served me very, very well in my 22 years, and those relationships have stuck with me. And so it's easier to conduct business with somebody who you have a relationship and you get along with than somebody you don't. So that is true.
Yeah. It's such a big part of the sales process, is that trust, which is built through relationships.
Exactly.
And I think it's a huge part of our industry, which is why we love working in it. And so your travel, I guess you've been out to travel the world, selling, Florida as a destination in the years gone by. Are there any kind of memories, travel experiences which really stick out as?
I've had so many, but I think that, again, connecting with the different markets, different people from those areas that we served or that we opened, that we developed, has always been amazing. But I had a great experience in South Africa one time, and going out into a safari. It was a work related trip, but that was it's a huge thing. But again, it's always been bringing it back to the people that I've met throughout the 22 years in my travels. And they're all very different, and it's always being appreciative and empathetic and respectful of each culture and understanding each culture. Because we're serving different markets. So you have to understand those needs, and you have to really get in depth and understand what they want and how they work day to day. And we're all very different, but in the end, we're all very much the same, right? We're all looking for the same thing for travels, for experiences. So
yeah, but I think that's such a great thing about traveling in general, isn't it? It's that awareness and learning about other cultures and what makes them tick. And I think that's why. When people talk about it being a force for good, it really is.
Absolutely, I think that it is, and that's why I say we're in the good business, right? The good nurture business, the positive business. So because we're selling an experience, we're selling that positive vibe to everyone to experience and to attract. So it's not competition, I think that we're all selling something different.
Yep.
And people are looking for different experiences at different times. So.
Yeah. And so to the Palm Beaches, where you are now currently,
Yeah, so the Palm Beaches is a great destination. We are on the east coast of Florida, southeast coast Florida. 39 cities are comprised of our destination. The most southern city is Boca Raton. The most well-known areas are West Palm Beach, which is the city center, and Palm Beach Island, which is where all the concentration of luxury hotels are located. And then furthest to the north would be Jupiter, Singer Island. So, each of these cities are very diverse, very different. They all offer something. We have to thank Henry Flagler, who was a visionary behind our destination. He built the railway system from the northern portion of the U.S. down through various parts of Florida, and then he ultimately arrived in our destination in the late 1800s, and he fell in love with it, and he said, well, I'm going to build something here. So he created the iconic resort, which still stands to this day, the Breakers. And then from there, really, everything stemmed. Everything was created from a tourism perspective. And so we're blessed to have over 220 hotels, over 18,000 rooms.
Where?
And so we're known as Florida's golf capital, with 160 golf courses, over 75 cultural centers, and the diversity of the experiences and throughout the Atlantic, of course. The eco activities in the north, and scuba diving and snorkeling. It depends. There's different types of offerings for discerning travelers. So whatever you want, you can find in our destination. And the close proximity to our neighbors to the south. Miami, of course, would be our main gateway airport. Orlando to the north, 2.5 hours. But we have the ability to connect travelers with a fast-speed train now that is connecting 3 cities in our destination, or our destinations, I should say, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm. So, it's a great destination. I invite people to come and experience it, because we're very different than our neighbors to the south or to the north, even though we're on the same coast. So
yeah. And what's new? What's coming up in the destination?
Just a lot of new hotels have been developed in the last 2 years. So the downtown area, the city center of West Palm Beach, and thanks in part to the development of the train, Brightline train, that is connecting us, has seen a lot of new hotels. And it's very pedestrian friendly, that area. A lot of restaurants, a lot of bars. The south area as well has been developed. Delray Beach with a lot of new hotels, and in Boca Raton, fairly new developments or renovations to properties. And then the northern portion, a lot of eco-focused types of wellness experiences for travelers. So, we were blessed that we were open throughout the pandemic, thankfully, for the domestic travelers. So we're just trying to make sure that we're getting our fair share of the international travelers, especially from the UK, so to come back.
And you mentioned the Brightline train, so that connects Miami to...
It does. So it opened almost 5 years ago, February of 2018. And it's downtown Miami to downtown Fort Lauderdale and downtown West Palm Beach, with two new stops along the way now in Miami, one in Aventura, and then another one in our destination, Boca Raton. So there's 2 stations in our destination, Boca Raton and West Palm, and it's a luxury experience. It's a fast-speed train, Wi-Fi on board, very modern, very sophisticated, and then ultimately it's going to go up to Orlando, to the airport of Orlando. So which is great. That would allow us additional connectivity from that airport to our destination. So
so great for international travel.
Absolutely.
That drive.
Absolutely. I think that for international travelers, that are accustomed to travel by train, and I always say, why do you want to drive? But there's always that option of driving when you come to Florida. But the train experience is great.
Yeah.
It's amazing because you fly into the airport, and then you could just take a transfer over to the station, and then come up to our destination.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, and final question for you, Eric. Have you got any bucket list destinations that are still there to be explored, or have you pretty much done everything?
No, there's a few on my list. I haven't been to Asia, so I would love to go to different parts of Asia. So explore more of South America, but definitely explore more of the U.S. I've only been. I want to get to know more of the U.S., other parts of the other coast. But yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for new places. And I have to say also, having the partnership with Hablo, we've been very happy that we're doing this now with you, working with you, because we're trying to make sure that we're creating the awareness of our destination, and I think this is the perfect way to do it. So
we're very glad to have you on the platform.
Absolutely.
And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Great to learn about you, your journey, and your destination, and safe travels back home.
Thanks so much for having me.